Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Shri Radha Madhava Ki Jai. Hare Krishna. How are you this morning? Is it good? So we're reading today from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3. Chapter 30, text 30. We're going to chant the verse. Evam kutumbam bibranam udaram bara evavam visrijye hobayam pretya bhunkte tat palamidrisham Evam kutumbam bibranam udaram bara evavam visrijye hobayam pretya bhunkte tat palam idrisham Evam kutumbam bibranam udaram bara evavam visrijye hobayam pretya bhunkte tat palam idrisham. Please chant. Evam kutumbam bibranam udaram bara evavam visrijye hobayam pretya bhunkte tat palam idrisham. Evam kutumbam bibranam Udaram bara evava Visrijye hobayam pretya Bhunkte tat phalam idrisham. Evam kutumbam bibrana Udaram bara evava Visrijye hobayam pretya Bhunkte tat phalam idrisham. Ladies. Evam kutumbam bibrana Udaram para evava Visrijye hobayam pretya Bhunkte tat phalam idrisham. Okay, so we go word by word. Evam kutumbam, family. Bibrana, he who maintained. Udaram, he who maintained. Eva, only. Va, or. Visrijya, after giving up. Iha, here. Ubayam, both of them. Pretya, after death. Bhunkte, he undergoes. Tat, of that. Phalam, result. Idrisham, such. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. More? Like this? Or should be up? Should be up, huh? Okay, thank you. After leaving this body, the man who maintained himself and his family members by sinful activities suffers a hellish life, and his relatives suffer also. Purport. The mistake of modern civilization is that man does not believe in the next life. But whether he believes or not, the next life is there, and one has to suffer if one does not lead a responsible life in terms of the injunctions of authoritative scriptures like the Vedas and Puranas. Species lower than human beings are not responsible for their actions because they are made to act in a certain way. But in the developed life of human consciousness, if one is not responsible for his activities, then he is sure to get a hellish life, as described herein. So chant the verse again. Evam kutumbam bibranam udaram bara evava visrijye hobayam pretya bhunkte tat phalam idrisham. After leaving this body, the man who maintained himself and his family members by sinful activities suffers a hellish life, and his relatives suffer also. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimad Kasha Swami Dinamina Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimad Bhakti Charu Swami Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Shatarine. So before I started, Karni, ask your blessings that I'll be able to say something meaningful, something in accordance with our Siddhanta. I'm still a child in this process, so every time I sit up here, it's a bit nerve-wracking, but hopefully by the mercy of our gurus and Srila Prabhupada and the Lord, something meaningful can be channeled through me. So, yes, we are reading the chapter in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is entitled Description of Lord Kapila of Adverse, by Lord Kapila of Adverse Fruitive Activities. It's a bit of heavy chapter. So, and as I was reading it through, I remembered Badrinarayan Maharaj, one lecture, when he was propagating the reading of Srimad Bhagavatam, and he was saying, you know, in Srimad Bhagavatam, you have action, you have chivalry, you have romance, everything is there. You know, just read Bhagavatam. And then now we have a little bit of horror. It's there. It's coming also in fifth canto. There is a description of the hellish planets. It's going to be even more horror. And when you, if anybody watched horror movies prior to your practice of Bhakti Yoga, what's the best horror?
Then you don't know who's going to kill you.
Okay, you said who's going to kill you. And that's where I'm going to, yeah. The best horror is, yeah.
When something happens, that could also happen to me.
Yes, that's what it's, I mean, both of you answered no. When something happens, that can happen to me also. You watch it, you're scared, and you're like, my God, this can happen to me. And, you know, Bhagavatam being the sound vibration of the ultimate truth, being the sound incarnation of Krishna, you know, reading about the hellish conditions of it gives you a chill. If you're honest with it gives a chill. So what I want to do today is give you a little bit of chill. We're going to go into the fifth canto, just a little bit, but I'm not going to go to the descriptions of, you know, all the different hellish planets and how it is possible to suffer there, and just want to go through all of the behaviors that get you to the hellish planets. And then we're going to flip it around. We're going to speak about the behaviors that can keep us and our families away from that condition. So in the purport to today's verse, Srila Prabhupada is saying how the mistake of modern civilization is to think that there is no next life. And I remember it's quite a lot of this philosophy outside of religious institutions, like you only live once. So carpe diem, you know, seize the day, enjoy yourself. You should enjoy yourself because you only live once. And there are two problems with this philosophy, two outcomes of it that are not so pleasant. Because you think about it, enjoy, that's, you know, that's fun. But what is not enjoyable about it, because if you say you only live once, you lead a life of no responsibility. You know, I've been there, I've done this, now moving on to do some other nonsense. But you leave the consequences behind. And sooner or later they will catch up with you. And you have to suffer for it. Prabhupada says, in the next life, if not in this one, no? And then the other problem with this philosophy, only live once, is that people who, you know, live according to this philosophy, they're fearful of death. Because, you know, you only live once, you live right now, and then you die. End of story. Isn't that scary a bit? I mean, at least to me it is. I want to know that I still have a chance to, you know, make things better, to improve myself, and to become more and more saintly in the lives that are following this one. So then in the purport also Prabhupada is saying that how developed life of human consciousness is a life of responsibility. Yeah, we take responsibilities for our actions, and slowly, slowly we progress on our path towards Him, attaining Him. And you know, based on what was just said, it is also a life of fearlessness. Because if you think about it, you always have a chance to do a little better. Do a little better today than you did yesterday. You always have a chance to do a little better. So now let's go to the fifth canto, the chapter 26, where Shukadeva Goswami is describing how there are 28 different types of hell. And as I said, I'm not going to go through the names of the hells. I'm not going to go what happens there, to the spirit soul, but I'm just gonna go through who gets there. How do you have to behave in order to get to a hellish planet? So Shukadeva Goswami says, a person who steals another's money, wife, or possessions. Do we have an example from the scripture? Somebody who stole somebody's wife? Yeah, and Ravana was liberated. Why? He didn't go to hell, he was liberated. How comes? Yes, and because Ramachandra was the one who killed him. No, that's also, yeah.
So we have this great, powerful king who's kidnapped so many wives of so many different men, who became the 1,000, so on.
Oh yeah, then the Krishna would steal them from him. I don't know. But yeah, true. So then the next one is a man who tricks someone and enjoys his wife. Can we think about somebody? We're not going to do this for everything, just maybe a couple of them here and there. Yes?
In a provocative way.
Yeah, I understand how he meant, yeah. Also Indra, there's a story how he enjoyed a wife of a sage, right? Another? Yes, true. Yeah. So then we have a foolish person who is absorbed in the bodily concept of life. That's us, right? But who on the basis of this principle maintains himself or his wife and children by committing violence against other living entities.
It is Ajamila, he was behaving, although he had all the qualities and he was
Yeah.
Brahmana later.
Yes.
Very
Sinful life, yeah, it's true. Okay, so then if you know an example, please interrupt me and let's discuss a little bit of that. And then those who kill different animals and birds and then cook them. Yeah, cook them. Then a person who kills a brahmana.
We have also Indra who committed Brahmana. And somebody who's killing is with this story of Narada Muni. I don't know if he cooked them, but he enjoyed it.
So that, yeah, Indra is really a rascal. But he's over and over and over forgiven by the Lord. That's incredible because he does such an important service. So the killer of a brahmana, one who does not follow scripture injunctions, but who does everything whimsically or follows some rascal.
This can be so many demons who from Ravana,
Yeah. Even Bali Maharaj, if you think about it, no, he followed the rascal, right? Because he was like, he tried to warn him, no, but it warned him like, maintain your his guru, no, maintain your materialistic situation. Do not give anything to this dwarf brahmana coming to you, no. A government official who poorly administers justice or who punishes an innocent man. Mm-hmm. Shishupal, yeah. Okay, and then this one I have to paraphrase a little bit. So here it says that the human being has this advanced consciousness which enables us to feel the suffering and happiness of other living beings. And when you're bereft of this feeling for the other, then you're prone to cause suffering for other living beings. Daksha, yes. So true.
Daksha, although he was so affectionate towards Sati because of envy toward Shiva,
Yeah.
he became hard-hearted. Even to the point of she committing suicide.
True. Then we have any person who does not receive or feed a guest properly, but who personally enjoys eating. Ever happened to you? You're thinking of it? We can go on, yes. A thief. Anybody stole anything in their lives? A candy? A person who has sexual relations with a woman who is not to be enjoyed.
Ravana,
yes,
he committed many
transgressions,
times
yes,
with
before.
demigods. Yeah, and he collected in that way so many curses.
That's why he was cursed. If you ever do this again, then immediately you die. Then a person who enjoys sexual relations with animals. A person born into an aristocratic or highly placed family, but who does not act accordingly.
The Kuvaras, what's their name? These two that were cursed by Narada Muni. Kuvaras? No, they are the sons of...
Yes. Manigriva and Nalakovera.
Yes.
True. I was thinking of Venu. No?
King Venu.
Yeah. He also... one who lives like an animal. Then a person who mercilessly kills animals in the forest without sanction.
We had this one.
You said this hunter.
The hunter?
Yeah,
What's
true.
his name? Okay, never mind.
Of course. Can we give her a microphone?
Thank you. King Dasharatha once went hunting in the forest and killed 2 birds. And he wanted to kill a bird, but he aimed at a young boy who was blind, and killed him by mistake.
Oh, yeah, I remember this.
And then his parents were left alone, and then he had to go and apologize. But the parents then cursed him, saying that you will die in a very similar fashion without your son. That's why Dasharatha did not get to go to the heaven after he was dead.
Thank you. So, yeah. Yeah, it's nice. You're learning things here all the time. It's good. And a person who kills animals. Jai Shri Shri Pralad Lakshmi Narasimhadeva Ki Jai. A person who kills animals in the name of religious sacrifice.
Prachina Barhishat? King
Prachina
Prachina
Barhishat.
Barhishat.
A person who forces his wife to drink his semen.
My God.
One who sets a fire or administers poison to kill someone.
This is Duryodhana, and this was committed against the Arjuna, the Pandavas. Their house were set on fire.
Yes,
and
yes.
tried to be poisoned.
A man who earns his livelihood by bearing false witness.
What does that mean? Bearing false witness, like witnessing wrongly?
Maybe,
Lying?
yeah. You witness something and you could do, but do something about it, you don't. I think, no? I understand like this.
Yeah,
Bearing false witness. Something,
Like you get paid to witness a lie, like to say something which
Oh.
is not happening.
yeah, that is, yeah. A person addicted to drinking wine goes to hell as well. One who violates etiquette by not showing proper respect to superiors.
Oh, actually, a very, very good example is with Sobari Rishi. He is the Rishi, the one who was within the Yamuna and very austere, but he pointed out the mistake of a senior devotee, Garuda, and because of it, it was the cause of his fall down. And also Ambarish Maharaj and
Daksha, Indra.
Yeah, many examples. A person who sacrifices human beings to Bhairava. Bhairava is a Kali.
we have this
goddess
story
of Kali.
from the sixth canto with Avadut Brahmana. With King Bharat in his next life. The life after being a deer, he became the
Yes.
Jada
yes.
Bharat, and he was to be offered to
Yes.
Goddess Kali by
Yeah.
some
Wow. A person who kills pet animals. A person who gives trouble to others. Many examples, yeah, of this as well. One who imprisons a living entity within a cave.
Within a cave.
Yeah.
Oh, it can be the brother of Devaki.
Yeah,
Kamsa, he
yes, he did.
imprisoned.
Yeah. And many other things he did. A person who shows unwarranted wrath toward a guest in his house. A person who shows unwarranted wrath toward a guest in his house. He's nasty towards a guest in his house.
Not really a rat, but Indra neglected his guru who came.
Yeah.
He didn't show him proper respect.
And then he had to go to earth to be a pig, to enjoy the life of a pig. And he did enjoy it. And then a person maddened by possessing riches and thus deeply absorbed in thinking of how to collect money.
Hiranya
Yeah.
means gold,
Yeah,
and Kashi means bad, so it can be
it's really
related.
true.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Though he was constantly thinking of Krishna.
Yeah. So all of these behaviors, they guarantee to get you on a hellish planet in your next life. Even in this life, we heard in a previous verse that there is such a thing as hell on earth. Yeah? There's also such a thing as heaven on earth. But before we speak about that, let us ask ourselves, what actually happens when we die? Now, Bhagavad Gita is explaining that at the time of death, when your gross body expires, your subtle body moves on and gets another body. And this another body in your next life is determined by your subtle body, by your thoughts and feelings and desires. And your subtle body actually is determined by the activities you did in your previous body, in your previous gross body. I remember reading one purport by Srila Prabhupada, but this is in Srimad Bhagavatam, where he was explaining how, you use your gross body during your lifetime. Your gross body is active. Yeah, but at the time of death, your subtle body is active. And he's also explaining how at the time of death, it is very, very difficult to focus. The mind will go, will browse through your life and, points out all of your attachments. Because, and also he's also explaining how your physical body, when you're dying, sometimes your throat chokes by the mucus or a blockage of air. You choke. So, and what are we told to do, when we are moving on, what is the best thing? What are we told to do?
Remember Krishna.
Remember Krishna, yeah? Chant his holy names. So now, how do you remember Krishna when your mind is heavily disturbed by all the, it's difficult, no? And how do you chant Hare Krishna when your throat is choked? It's also difficult, no? So, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th canto, 1st chapter, 54th, verse 54, there's a purport that said that the atmospheres of the subtle body, this is the one, the atmosphere of the subtle body at the time of death is created by the activities of the gross body. Thus, the gross body acts during one's lifetime, and the subtle body acts at the time of death. And the subtle body, which is called linga, the body of desire, is the background for the development of a particular type of gross body. Yes?
There is even a verse saying that by looking at the body of a particular person, you can tell the person's past, And by looking at the activity of the person, you can tell the person's future. I mean, next life.
Yes.
Next body. It's being carved.
Yeah. So yeah, in the Bhagavad Gita, 8:7, Krishna is giving to Arjuna the ultimate formula for success. He's saying, what is he saying? He say, do your duty, perform your duty without attachment for me. This is what Krishna is saying. You do your duty, don't be attached to what you're doing, and offer it, do it for me. No? And also previous verse 8:6, which is Yam Yam Vapi Smaram Bhavam Tyajatyante Kalevaram Tam Tam Evaiti Kaunteya Sadatad Bhava Bhavitam, says that whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail. So I was thinking now there are 3 layers of existence that ought to be purified. During this lifetime, or we commence the process, so we are purifying our existence on 3 levels. What do we need to purify? I think this is 2nd chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Yeah.
Our mind.
Our mind is one. Yeah. Our
Mind, intelligence, and false ego.
Okay, the subtle body. Yeah, but our mind. We have 3 dandi sannyasis. What does the 3 sticks stand for?
Okay, it's
in our movement we have, yeah.
Thoughts,
yes,
and
we said
body.
Yes. So we have to purify our body. How do we purify the body?
By regulations?
Yeah, by regulations.
Regulating the sleeping.
Yes. Eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. We regulate. What else? Our bodies. What is the best way to purify the body?
Take a shower.
This goes with regulations, I think, but yeah. Yeah, that's, it's good. Take a shower.
Prabhupada says internally and externally purify the body. Externally by taking a shower every morning, and internally by chanting Hare Krishna.
But now we're speaking about the external body, How do we purify something?
By offering obeisances?
That's good. I'm
By
looking for
serving?
something by service. Yeah, it's true, because your all of your senses
Engaging
are
all
engaged.
Mm-hmm.
What is the one thing that we actually can enjoy? We shouldn't.
I'll take prasad.
Yes. We purify our bodies by eating Krishna prasadam. No. How do we purify the mind? Bhakta Bashar already said, yes, by chanting Hare
Chanting
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Something else? Remembering, yes. Thinking about our service, like we said before, by contemplating the scriptures, reading, all of these things. How do we purify the words?
This is 1715. Anudvegam karam vakyam satyam priya hitam chayat svadhyaya bhyasanam chaiva vanmayam tapa uchyate. That the austerity of mind consists of speaking Have I said mind?
Speech, yes.
Austerity of the speech, consists of speaking words that are truthful, that are pleasing, one more, and svadhyaya, and by regularly reciting Vedic scripture. These constitute the austerity of the speech.
Basically, speaking of Krishna, that's to simplify.
Also, this 12, 18, 19, where Maunam is mentioned, Prabhupada says there in the purport that not speaking doesn't mean that we don't speak, but it means that we don't speak nonsense.
Yes. One of the 26 qualities of a devotee is silence. And silence does not mean you don't say anything. It just means you don't speak nonsense. You don't speak stupid things. Eating only Krishna prasad thinking exclusively of Krishna and speaking only of Krishna, about Krishna. Easy, no? Sounds very easy, right? I'm gonna bring it down now a little bit. I want to, by a personal example. In my mother tongue, in Slovene language, there are no swear words. We have expressions like we would say 300 kosmatih medvedov, which means 300 hairy bears. And that's considered a swear word. We would say a thing like Krščen Matiček, which translates into baptized Matthew. And that's a swear word. We would even say, we would use words like pismo, and that means a letter. A letter that you send to somebody, like a vintage email, pismo. And then you want to tell somebody off, you would say pece solit, which means go salt yourself. Salt. Yes, go and put salt on yourself. And these are, so because Slovenia was a part of other countries and a member of other countries, under other countries and a member of other countries, then Slovene people would pick up swear words from other languages, like from German, from Italian, but most commonly, most frequently, it would be from Serbo-Croatian language. Very juicy language when it comes to swear words, but I think Italian also. Yeah. So, so the thing is, when you use your mother tongue, because you've heard this language since you were, 4 months in your womb, you started to distinguish and understand, and this is, because of that, in your mother tongue, you understand all the subtleties and nuances of the meaning of the words. You have this possibility. Some people don't, but you have the possibility to understand. But when you speak another language, then you always like a little bit struggle with the choice of the words. You want to send the message, but you're not quite sure, if this is the right word to say it. No? And so, as I said, Slovene people in Slovenia will very frequently and very casually use a specific word in Serbo-Croatian language, and they wouldn't say it to a child, but they would say it in front of a child. And I was polite always. I would never say it to a person. But what I would do, I would make an adjective out of it and use it in a sentence to stress something, whether good or bad, it doesn't matter. Now, at this point, I have to tell that I'm from a speaking profession, and I was trained to be very conscious of what I speak and how I speak. But this word I would just use, because to me, it's just a word, nothing serious. And then what happened was I started associating with a devotee from Croatia. Now my husband. But at the time, I think we went for 3 walks or something, and then one day we were walking, and I used the word. And he flipped out on me. He chastised me so severely. He was like, I don't ever want to hear you say that word again, ever again. And I was so shocked. I was so surprised, taken aback. I was so embarrassed. I couldn't understand. It was just a word. Everybody's using this. It's just a word, what to do. So what I did is I called a friend of mine who at the time was also associating with a devotee from Croatia, and I told her the story, and she was like, this same thing happened to me. She said, I used the word, and he flipped out like anything. And then I started thinking, okay, so this is a really bad word. I don't want to use this word. I was unaware I was using it. I said, I don't want to. So I went on a mission to purify my speech by throwing this word out of my vocabulary. And if anybody ever done that, it's not so simple. Because, first you're like, okay, I don't want to use this word ever again. And you slip. Your tongue slips here and there. And always you're like, I used this word. And I'm sorry, I don't want to. And then at one point, it doesn't come out anymore. The word subsided. Yeah. But the thing is, I mean, that could be it, I'm not saying this word again, that, I'm done. But in your mind, you'd still say it, And then you have to, like, what I did was I tried to find a word to replace it. I could use a Slovene swear word to replace it, but I just chose to say, because what I realized when I was going to, okay, it's still in my mind, what I realized was that it's actually not about the word you say. It's about the energy you're trying to express when you say a swear word. You're trying to, put out some feeling, no? And so I would just say, Krishna, Krishna, but it's just that feeling. And then I was thinking, what is this feeling? What am I trying to put out? What is it that I'm trying to express? So anybody has an idea? What is the feeling behind when we use a swear word? It's one of the 3 gates to hell. Passion? I mean, it is passion. It is. We say it it's passionate. Yeah, when we use a swear word, that's true. But there are 3 gates to hell, and I'm looking for a specific one. It must be anger. Yeah. And I was thinking, my God, I'm not an angry person, but hear this. I've got this anger inside, and now it got really subtle. Now I had to deal with anger the same way I dealt with the word, with a curse word. I had to become aware when I'm becoming angry, because I'm not an angry person. I don't show my anger to people. And then I had to be, and it got really subtle. So yeah, I mean, speaking only of Krishna, thinking only of Krishna exclusively, and just eating only Krishna prasadam, it sounds very easy, but when you bring it down, it's not that simple. Not that simple. So, yeah, for today, there are many stories that I could tell on this topic of how do we prepare for that. I could speak about a Jamil and end on a very optimistic note. I could speak about Bharat Maharaj and end on a very humble note. But I chose to speak about Parikshit Maharaj and end on a very responsible note. Because this is what we're speaking today, how to die responsibly. So Parikshit Maharaj, he was a great king. He was a pious king, he was a righteous king, and everybody loved him. Although Krishna has already left, so Kali already sneaked in the planet Earth and spread his influence everywhere. But still, Parikshit Maharaj, he was considered by many to be a great king. And then one day he went out to the forest hunting. Now, Kshatriyas, they can do that. There are scriptural injunctions when and how, and they can do these things. He went out hunting, and he got really tired. He got really fatigued and thirsty and hungry. And while he was searching for some water, he went to the hermitage of Shamika Rishi, of a Muni who was sitting there meditating. And it is said that Shamika Rishi, all of his sense organs, breath, mind, intelligence, everything was restrained from material activity. So he had no external consciousness. He was completely entranced, just sitting there. And so the king came and he asked for some water. He was very thirsty. And the rishi did not respond. And out of this, weak physical condition, out of hunger and thirst and fatigue, Parikshit Maharaj got angry. And he left. And while he was leaving, he saw a dead snake on the floor. With his bow, he picked up the dead snake and put it on the rishi's shoulder. Then he went home and he immediately started thinking, maybe it's not that he did not receive me properly. Maybe he was, meditating. Maybe he was I don't know if I made a mistake or not. But then Shringi, the son of this rishi, heard what happened. He was out playing with his friends, heard what happened, and he got extremely angry. And because he was a son of a rishi, he was very powerful. And so in front of all of his playmates, he cursed Parikshit Maharaj. He said, 7 days from today, 7 days from now, a snake bird will come and bite you, and you will leave your body. So if you think like from now, from this moment in particular, you have 7 days to live. Somebody tells you now you have 7 days, in 7 days you go. What would you do? Would you chant Hare Krishna? Would you go skydiving? It's like, what would you do? Mm-hmm. You have an answer? Maybe both. Chanting while skydiving. Yeah. But what did Parikshit Maharaj did? He sat down and he heard from his guru, from the lotus lips of Shukadeva Goswami. He heard with rapt attention. He heard without interruption, continuously. He asked questions which pleased Shukadeva Goswami very much. And he wouldn't just ask questions for his own benefit. Some, yes, but some was just, he asked questions for the benefit of the sages that were gathered there around. For our benefit now, so many thousands of years later, discussing this right here, right now. And not only that, after he was finished hearing with rapt attention, when his mother approached him and asked him, can you please tell me what, all the discussion was about, then he spoke it also. He summarized the Bhagavatam in a story-like form called the Brihad Bhagavatamrita and told that story to his mother. So what did he do? He had 7 days to live. He heard, he preached, and then the snake bird came, bite him, he left, and he reached the blissful abode of Lord Krishna. And on that note, I'm gonna finish here. I thank you all so much for being here and for participating, for listening. It's a great learning experience for me. I'm very blessed to be given this service. So if there's anything to be added, if you want to correct me on a point or something as a comment or anything, please do. Yes.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Mataji, for the attractive and interactive lecture. One question came to my mind at the beginning. I remember while reading the third canto, there's these photos, the photos in the beginning or in the middle. And then like one photo is about the descriptions of hell, like somebody is suffering in a certain way, not to be mentioned. And then you flip the page and the one afterwards is, I don't know where does it happen in the third canto, but it's baby Krishna. It's like Krishna is sitting, is like laying down with his fingers in his mouth.
Maybe even his toe, huh? Toe.
His toe, yeah.
Foot finger.
Yeah, the toe. And then I'm trying to relate both of those realities. Let's put them in this way. And I remember once Kadamba Maharaj started his lecture by saying, Krishna didn't want to create this world, but he did out of love for all living entities, so for the reasons we know, to liberate ourselves and to lord it over material nature and so on. And then, by certain understanding, we accept that, okay, Krishna actually created this material world because we wanted this world, not because he wanted it. And it's ultimately to our desire. But, sorry, here comes the question after the long introduction. But why would he allow such a thing as these hellish conditions? Do we want this also? Do we want these hellish conditions? Okay, we want to enjoy this material world, and there are some karmic reactions for it. But that hellish conditions seem really quite extreme for this baby with a toe in his mouth to create. You know what I mean?
No, I think we do. Like, you remember yesterday's verse? We are enjoying hellish conditions. The story of Indra, how he became a pig. Brahma came to pick him up. He was like, no. I have my wife here. I have my children. We're having, no. This is perfect. So, if this is something that a spirit soul needs to go through, it will. I think the thing is, when you start suffering, like when you stop enjoying your suffering, that's when you start awakening spiritually.
That's a good one.
No? And we stopped enjoying our suffering. That's why we are all here. Yes.
Thank you, Mataji.
And just to reply also, it might not be necessarily that we might want to enjoy the hellish sufferings, though it can be the case. But assumingly you are a guest, you come to someone and somebody is neglecting you, you actually wish for that person to burn in hell. Or if somebody insults you or does you injustice to you, we have this deep feeling that we wish that this person suffers and he realizes the mistake he has done. And in that way, our wish is also being facilitated by hellish planets. Not necessarily that we want to be punished in the hells. I wish to thank you very much for your class. It was like watching a movie. It was so interactive. And it was also so packed like a sandwich, and you can just take it and take away. Go with it. Thank you so much. I had a question that where or from whom or how did you learn the Srimad Bhagavatam?
I read. And that's really important. Sometimes, we have so many, reading is like the last thing. But I loved reading before I started practicing Bhakti Yoga, and now that I have a small child, I'm just making, if it's a verse a day, it's a verse a day, So I read, and Guru Maharaj, obviously Bhakti Charu Swami, he, especially in his later years, he would narrate a lot of and analyze a lot of stories from the Srimad Bhagavatam, and I loved hearing his seminars and lectures. And I wouldn't say, I'm no expert. But I remember years ago when I was like, I was scared to even start reading the Bhagavatam. Because I had it on the bookshelf, and it's like this, 12 cantos. And I was looking and saying, I'm never going to read this. I'm never going to read, I wouldn't even start. But then one day I said, okay, I do 5 verses every day. 5 verses, 5 purports every day. And I did that. And it took me, I know devotees that read the Bhagavatam in 1 year. They go a chapter a day, and and then in 1 year, in 1 year you're done. But for me, it took years to finish it. And now it's like, I don't know, now here and there I mostly remember the stories, a little bit about philosophy, but mostly I remember the stories because, that's just my nature. I can relate very nicely to the stories, and I can draw the teachings nicely from the stories. So, yeah. I'm looking forward to go back to it again. Now I'm not scared anymore to start it. I know it can be done. So, yeah. But I wanted to say also, when we were discussing this question by Bashar Prabhu, is that we do have to admit to ourselves that we are not, purely good. We have a very high philosophy that stresses this, purify, become a saintly person. But we do have aggression within us. It's there. And it's not about, like I was speaking about, how when I was purifying my speech, I found anger, And then now I'm trying to purify that anger. And it's the same, it's the same process. When you have anger, you try to invest it in something productive. Whether it's creative, intellectual, what kind of person you are, that's where you put it. Not to, if you don't want to act on it, if you want to purify it, no? That's how I see. I'm still working on this, But that's how I see it. And we should admit to ourselves we do have aggression within us. And if it's just, if we just suppress it, then maybe it will come out in the most inappropriate place, inappropriate way. So that's a little bit of the psychology actually of the human nature. But I think if we look inside, we can find all of us. Even the, you can see it with little children. When they hit the age of 2, it comes out. It's there. It comes out. It must come out. No.
Regarding the aggression and how every one of us is having it, it's when you said that if we just introspect that we will find it, it is like any situation you come to a group of people and you are talking, and just to be accepted in any way by the person you are talking to or the group you are talking to, you don't say something, or somebody makes a joke, or you make joke on your own behalf, and then everybody leaves, and you are going back into the ashram, into your room, and you think that, oh, I should have told this, or I should have done like this, I shouldn't have embarrassed myself in this way. And it all indicates that we have that shadow, we have that aggression within us. It is just not integrated within our personality.
Yes.
And recognizing it and using it in a productive way, bring it out. Also, people will see that, oh, you don't mess with Bashar. He is tough person. Like you don't mess with him. He has a good part of his shadow integrated within himself, and it brings out that some stamina or some confidence that you carry yourself with, which is like really genuine when you integrate those dark parts of yourself.
So we're good? Thank you very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.